Our last box of the night, which is this is 3. Okay, so we're going to open up the tab over here, and we're going to spawn the machine. So what we need to do is click on the green spawn machine button, starting up the server for the 3 challenge over here. 3. Let's take a look at what is involved in this challenge. So it's got these tags: cloud, custom applications, AWS, AWS again, reconnaissance, website structure discovery, bucket enumeration, arbitrary file upload, and anonymous/guest access. So these are some of the fun things we're going to encounter while we're solving this this challenge over here. This is the IP address that we've been assigned. We're going to copy it. Okay. All right. So let's run our nmap scan against it. So it's nmap. So it's nmap and then -vv for very verbose, and then -p- to scan every port on the server, and then -t4 for very fast but not the fastest, and then we include our IP address. So we're going to run that, and it's going to give us some results immediately. The reason why it's giving us output immediately is because we ran it with very verbose, which is -vv. So we see that port 22 is open, as well as port 80. So port 80 means that there is a web server on this machine. So what we can do before anything else is that we can try to access the web page. So from the web browser, I'm going to replace this one over here and access the web page from the web browser. Remember, we're using HTTP instead of HTTPS because this is port 80, and that is associated with the HTTP protocol. So we see on this web page right here that this seems to be some sort of ban page right here. So we've got a web page. It's talking about some sort of band, which are called the toppers over here. And they have a bunch of information right here. An interesting thing that we can note on this web page is this email address right here. So it's mail@thetoppers.htb. So this is a domain. So anytime we see a domain on a web page, we should probably try to add that domain to our etc host file in order to access the page properly. Sometimes if you don't do that, the web page doesn't render, and it doesn't give you everything you want from it. So we're going to add this to our etc host file. So how do we do that? We're going to go back to our terminal, and we're going to do sudo nano etc host. So because the host file is a sensitive file that is owned by root, we need to use sudo in order to make adjustments to it. So we're going to run that and provide our password. So we've already included an extra entry for the etc host file over here. We can delete this because we're done with this box. And then we can paste in the IP address, and we're going to use the domain that we found, which is thetoppers.htb. Okay, so now that this is done, we can save the file. Now that we know the domain for this particular website, we're going to do some subdomain enumeration. So subdomains are, let me explain what subdomains are. So occasionally inside of a web page, you'll see something like app.something something. Actually, I can demonstrate right over here. So on this page right here, hackthebox is the domain, and starting -point is the endpoint right over here. But the subdomain for this particular page is app.hackthebox.com. So we can call app a subdomain, and what we can do is we can look for subdomains on this particular server. Okay, so we know that the domain is thetoppers.htb, and we're going to be using the GoBuster tool to enumerate subdomains on this particular server. So it's going to be GoBuster, and this is the GoBuster command we're going to use to enumerate subdomains. So GoBuster is a tool that can be used for directory busting as well as subdomain enumeration, which is what we're doing right here. So we have to use GoBuster in the vhost mode in order to do subdomain enumeration. We also have to provide a word list, and if we're using Kali Linux, it's going to be this one right here, /user/share/seclists discovery DNS subdomains top 1,005,000.txt, and then we need to supply a URL, which is going to be http thetoppers.htb, and we're going to append domain, which means that we're going to stick the subdomain to the front of this domain right here, thetoppers.htb. All right, so I'm going to run GoBuster with these arguments right here, and it's going to look for subdomains on this particular website. Okay, it says starting GoBuster in vhost enumeration mode. So according to my notes, there are no other ports available on the system, so we can just quit out of this nmap scan, and we can run the scan again. But this time we're going to target port 80 and port 22. And we're also going to enumerate with standard scripts, and we're going to enumerate the version information for everything that we find over here. So I don't think in this particular challenge we need to nmap again, but it's a good habit to keep. What you want to do is nmap once to find all the open ports, and then nmap again with some additional options to enumerate the ports that you found that were open. Okay, so we're going to go back to the GoBuster command over here. So it says it found this domain right here, s3.thetoppers.htb, and it also found this subdomain right here, gc.something.thetoppers.htb. So I'm going to tell you for a fact that we don't need to pay attention to this, but we do need to pay attention to this. So it's s3.thetoppers.htb. So S3 refers to Amazon Web Services. So Amazon Web Services are a kind of cloud computing solution, and S3 refers to S3 buckets, which is basically file storage being hosted by Amazon Web Services. So a lot of web apps these days use Amazon Web Services because they don't want to host their own servers. Most companies find it's a lot cheaper and a lot more efficient to just use cloud infrastructure. So a lot of web apps use S3 buckets, which is indicated over here. So what we can do is we can add this to our etc host file as well in order to access this. So what we do is we copy this, and then we're going to edit our etc host file again. So sudo nano etc hosts. So I think what we can do inside of here is we can do a comma. Wait, is it a comma or is it just a space? I think you can just leave a space, and then you can paste in another domain, and this is how you associate two domains with the same IP address. Okay, and then we can save this. and then we can try to access this this subdomain through the web browser. So in the web browser, we go to the Toppers website, and we can do s3. Actually, I copied it. Okay, so it's s3.thetoppers.htb. Okay, so we access this. Whoops. We have to specify HTTP. Okay. So it says status running. Okay, so this right here indicates this is an API endpoint, and this indicates to us that that this is connected to the Amazon Web Services API, which means that we can communicate with it using the Amazon Web Services CLI tool. So this is a set of tools that people use on the CLI in order to interact with the Amazon Web Service accessible API endpoints. Okay, so normally this is not installed on Kali Linux, but we can install it using the following command. Let's go back to our terminal. So we're going to do sudo apt update -y and sudo apt install AWS CLI. So what this is going to do is it's going to update all the packages on our Kali Linux system, and then after that's done, it's going to install the AWS CLI package over here. So we're going to run this, and it's going to download a bunch of stuff. And then it says, after this information, 117 megabytes of additional disk space will be used. Do you want to continue? You can avoid this by tacking on the -y to the end of this second command as well. So we're going to say yes, and it's going to install this package right here. Okay, and it is done. All right. So after we've installed the AWS CLI package, we have to configure the AWS command. So we can do that by doing AWS configure, and then run that. It's going to ask us which access key we want to use. We can just type test AWS access key. So sometimes you need a legitimate key in order to access AWS objects, but in this case, we're just going to nonsense output to the program, and it's still going to work. But in some cases, you have to provide legitimate credentials and other legitimate fields in order to use this kind of infrastructure. But for now, for this case, we don't need to. Okay, so after we've configured everything, the next thing we want to do is we want to determine if we can find anything inside of this Amazon S3 bucket. So the command we're going to use for this is AWS endpoint. Whoops, we're not doing this right now. AWS endpoint equals, and then the URL for this particular S3 bucket, and then it's going to be S3ls. So S3ls is going to let us see what is inside of this S3 bucket. And it basically tells us here that there's nothing, I think there's nothing inside of this S3 bucket. So we don't see anything in here, but what we can do is we can specify the specific S3 API using this command right here, along with ls. So along with ls, we can specify S3 : / and then the domain name over here. So after we run this, we see that there are two files inside of this S3 bucket right here, which is .htaccess and index.php. So index.php could be this. Index.php could be this landing page that we see over here. So this landing page right here could be index.php. So what we can do is we can specify the endpoint as index.php, and then we see that this returns basically the same web page. So this could be the contents of the S3 bucket right here. So what we can do is that we can confirm that this is the S3 bucket right here by uploading a test file to the web server and seeing if it appears. So what we can do is create a test file by doing this, echo, we have upload function, we have file upload functionality, and we're going to redirect that into test.txt. So this is a txt file that we're going to upload to the server, and if we're able to upload it to the server and then access it from the web page, from the website, then we know that we can upload whatever we want up to the website. So we create the file, and then we're going to use the following AWS command to try to upload the file. So we're going to do AWS and then in this portion of the command is going to be CP for copy. Okay, so it has to be S3 CP test.txt, just like this. Okay, so we're going to run this command, and then it's going to say upload, okay, this directory test.txt to S3, the toppers.php / test.txt. So in order to confirm that we were able to upload this to the S3 bucket and that the S3 bucket is the website, we can go back to our web page, and then instead of index.php we do test.txt. So when we access this, we were able to access the page, and it says we have a file upload functionality, which is what we put inside of the test.txt file. So this proves that we're able to upload whatever file we want up to the Amazon S3 bucket for this website. All right, so what can we do? Well, what we can do is we can upload a web shell to this website, and then we can use the web shell to run commands against the web server. So that's what we're going to do to get remote command execution. So in order to do that, we're going to create a file. We're going to create a PHP web shell file and called webshell.php. And then inside of Nano, we're going to use some fancy PHP commands. So we're going to do okay, I think all we need to do is echo, and then oh no, we don't echo. So, and we don't use Nano. We're going to get out of here. We're just going to echo out. Echo PHP system, this exact thing right here. And we're going to call it webshell.php. So this is basically a very simple PHP web shell. And if we upload this to the vulnerable web server, we're going to be able to run commands using PHP on the web server in order to finish this exercise. Okay, so we're going to run this command to write this file, and then if we so this is the entire contents of this file. So it's going to create after we upload it, it's going to create an endpoint on the website called webshell.php, and then we're going to be able to use a URL parameter command, CMD, in order to run commands against the web server. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is we need to use the AWS command over here to copy the web shell up to the S3 bucket. So it's the same command we did to copy the test.txt file, but in this case we're going to upload web shell.php. Okay, so run this command, and it's going to say that it was uploaded to the S3 bucket. So we can confirm this by going back to the web page, and then the endpoint we're going to specify is web shell.php, and then we're going to do a question mark to indicate a URL parameter, and then cmd equals, and then after cmd equals, we're going to give a Linux command, because we know that this web server is running Linux. So we're going to give the whoami command, and the response is www-data, and this is the default user account for web apps, for web servers on the Linux system. Okay, so what can we do with this, and what can you do with this? So basically we can run whatever commands we want on the web app, and it'll act as if we're running the same commands on the web server. So one easy way to finish off this exercise is that we can search for the flag. So we can search for the flag using the web shell, and that command is going to be, we're going to use the find command. So first of all, we can use find slash, and slash means the entire file system, and then we can do -name to indicate that we're looking for a file with a specific name, and the specific name of the file is going to be flag.txt. And the last part of the command is that we're going to try to eliminate all of the error messages, and we can do that by sending to > to /dev/null, which means basically all of the error messages they're not going to appear. So we're going to run this command, and it's going to take a little while before we get a response, because it has to run the entire command before it responds to us. Okay, so after we run the find command, it tells us that the flag is located in /var/www. All right, so the last thing we need to do to solve this challenge is to read the flag. So all we need to do inside the web shell is to cat /var/www/flag.txt. And we run that, and this is the value of the flag. All right, so we're just about finished with this challenge. I told you it was a lot easier than the previous challenge responder, and it is, but it taught us a couple of valuable things about interacting with Amazon Web Services, specifically Amazon Web Service S3 buckets. We were able to use AWS commands to interact with the AWS S3 bucket. We were able to list the contents of the bucket. We were able to upload stuff to the bucket, and in uploading stuff to the bucket, we were able to upload malicious files to the S3 bucket, which we use to get remote command execution on the server. All right, so before we finish, let's answer all the questions associated with this challenge. So over in task 1, question 1, how many TCP ports are open? Okay, so if you remember, there were 2 ports open. There's port 80 and port 22. So this is the answer. The next question is, what is the domain of the email address provided in the contact section of the website? So we're looking for the domain. remember on the Topper's website over here, oh, well, we don't want to get rid of this, so we're just going to go back. Remember that the domain for this website was the toppers.htb. Submit the answer. Okay, task 3, question 3. In the absence of a DNS server, which Linux file can we use to resolve host names to IP addresses in order to be able to access the websites that point to those host names? Okay, so remember that during these two exercises, we edited a specific file in order to resolve host names or domain names to specific IP addresses. The answer is /etc/hosts. So this was the file that we were editing in order to resolve domains to specific IP addresses. So that's the answer. Okay, the next question is, which subdomain is discovered during further enumeration? So we use the GoBuster tool in order to enumerate subdomains using the vhost option, and we're able to find this subdomain right here, s3.thetoppers.htb. Okay, network error. Let's resubmit the answer. All right. So which service is running on the discovered subdomain? Okay, so it says something 3. So we can just imagine that this says Amazon S3, as in the Amazon S3 bucket. So it's going to be Amazon S3. Okay, so the next question is, which command line utility can be used to interact with the service running on the discovered subdomain? Command line utility. So the utility we use to interact with the S3 bucket is AWS CLI. This is the command line utility. So that is the answer. Question 7, which command is used to set up the AWS CLI installation? So this is what we needed to do before we could run other AWS commands. We needed to run AWS configure. What is the command used by the above utility to list all of the S3 buckets? Okay, so we listed all the S3 buckets using AWS ls s3. So this is the command to list all the contents of the S3 buckets. Actually, no, this lists the different buckets is what it does. Submit that as the answer. That is the incorrect flag. Let me take a look at my answers over here just to make sure. Oh, it's the wrong order. Okay, so it's going to be AWS S3LS to list out all the buckets. Okay, task 9. This server is configured to run files written in what web scripting language? So this is the same kind of question we got in the previous challenge. What kind of language is being used to run this server? It's the PHP engine over here. So submit that as the answer. And the final question over here is to submit the root flag. So over here we have a flag that we found using our web shell, and it is this right here. We're going to copy that. Remember, it's located in the /var/www/flag.txt file over here. And let's go back and submit that as the root flag. And we are done. Okay, it says here that 3 has been pwned. Congratulations. And we're done, everybody. Okay, it says congratulations, you've pwned all the free tier 1 machines. Progress through other tiers to develop your hacking knowledge. And we're just going to close this window. Thank you very much, Hack the Box. Hey there, HackerFrogs. Are you enjoying this workshop? Learning new concepts and skills? If so, There's a way you can support the channel, and it's totally free. Just click on the subscribe button below the video. Also, click on the like button. And if you have questions or comments on this workshop, please leave them below the video. Thanks for listening. And now, back to our scheduled programming.